What is up, YouTube? My name is Matt Modi. I am a content producer and betting analyst for OddsJam.com. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to bet on the NFL playoffs. So I'm recording this right before the end of the regular season, so the playoff stage isn't set, I should say. But I do think it's important to understand how to bet on the NFL playoffs. So that is exactly what I will be talking about in this video. So number one, how do the NFL playoffs work? For those of you watching this, I'm sure you're aware of just how the NFL landscape is in general, how there's two conferences, an AFC and an NFC, and then in each conference there are 4 divisions. So how do the NFL playoffs work? That there are 7 teams in each conference that make the playoffs, 14 total. The 4 teams in each conference that win the division make the playoffs, and they host their first playoff game. So there are 4 teams that make it by winning their division, and then the remainder of the 3 teams make it as a wild card team, who is just the best record of the teams that didn't win their division. The most important thing to note in the NFL playoffs is that the number 1 seeds in each conference get a first round bye. It's incredibly important getting that bye because obviously you get a week off and you just become much more fresh, and you only need to win 2 games to make the Super Bowl. Both those games are at home. The other thing to note is that the higher seed in the playoffs will host whatever playoff game. So if there is, and this will happen this year, if there is a 4 seed that won their division but are the worst of the division winners, even though if they have a worse record than the team that they are playing, they will still host. They'll be the home team for that playoff game. This will probably happen in both conferences, with the Tampa Bay Bucks most likely hosting the Dallas Cowboys, even though the Bucks are going to have either a 9-8 or 8-8 record, and the Cowboys are either going to have 11 or 12 wins. Regardless, the Tampa Bay will host the game. Fair, up for you to decide, but win your division and you get to host a playoff game. And then as you go on in the playoffs, teams that are the higher seed will be the home team for the playoff games. They will host the playoffs. So that's kind of how everything works. Now, obviously, there is a week between the championship games and the Super Bowl. So if you want to, the Super Bowl is considered the final. The championship games are considered the semifinal. There's a week off in between games. That's when the Pro Bowl is played. So that's kind of how the NFL playoff landscape works. In terms of the actual ways that you can bet on the NFL playoffs, it's not different from the regular season. So there are 3 main markets when betting on the NFL playoffs. There is the point spread, there is the money line, and there is the total. The point spread is pretty simple. It's how much a team is favored by. So I'll just pull up a random screenshot here from a game that is going on in week 18. And where you see the minus, that dictates the favorite. The favorite here is the Kansas City Chiefs. And as you can see, they are 9.5 point favorites. The minus dictates the favorite. The point dictates how many points they are favored by. So this means that the Chiefs have to win by 10 or more points in order for you to win your spread bet on the Chiefs. And then on the other side, the Raiders are plus 9.5, which means that they can either lose by 9 or fewer points, or they can win straight up and you would win your spread bet. So when you're betting on the favorite, just remember that the favorite is the team with the minus next to it, and then the point total next to the minus is how many points they are favored by. Obviously, the bigger the favorite, the higher the point total will be for the spread. Next to that, we see here the money line. So that is the easiest bet to make in sports. You're literally just betting on who's going to win or you're just betting on who's going to win the game. So if you're betting on a team's money line, you're betting on them to win the game, the other team to lose the game. Doesn't matter if it happens in overtime, doesn't matter if it happens in double overtime, how much they win by. None of that stuff matters, just if they win the game straight up. So similar to the point spread, the minus dictates the favorite. And then the number next to the minus, in this case, we see 460. Basically, that means you have to risk $460 to profit $100. So the higher the number is, the heavier the favorite, which means the more you have to risk in order to profit. So in this case, again, you need to risk $460 to profit 100. On the other side of that, we see the plus. Like I mentioned, that dictates the underdog. And in this case, the plus 360 means that you could risk $100 to profit $360. So again, the higher the numbers, the bigger the favorite. For the favorite, if you're betting on the favorite, in this case, the Chiefs, we have to risk $460 to win 100, to profit 100. For the Raiders, you risk 100 to profit 360. Higher those numbers go, the bigger the favorite, the bigger the underdogs. That is a money line bet. And then the last one of the main lines of a bet is the total. And this, you're just betting on how many points are going to be scored in the game, over or under the total, in this case, which is 51.5. Similar to the point spread in the money line, it doesn't matter how these points are scored. The Chiefs could win 52-0, and the point total could hit. The total could go over in overtime, still counts towards the total. So again, it doesn't matter how the points are scored. It doesn't matter who wins, if the points are scored in overtime or not. You're just betting on the total number of points in the game. Those are the main lines when it comes to betting on the NFL playoffs: point spread, money line, and total. So those are the main lines that you can bet on in football. Now, there are also things called prop bets, whether there are game prop or player props, something you can also bet on in the NFL. And I figure for those, it would be easiest to just share my screen and show you. So a player prop is basically you're betting on a player specific, and if there's any counting stat in football, you could probably bet on it as a player prop. We have passing props: passing yards, passing touchdowns, longest passes, and then alternate lines, and then interception. Will this player, in this case Patrick Mahomes, and let me zoom in a little bit here, throw an interception? The main line of player passing yards will just show up here. So for Mahomes, we see 320. Jared Stidham, we see 234. You can also bet on alternate passing totals as well. So instead of betting on their main line, you bet on an alternate. Same thing for receiving props. You can bet on receiving yards, longest reception. There's also number of receptions you can bet on for receiving props. There are rushing props, which is just pretty much rushing yards. You can also bet on rushing attempts as well. And there are also even defensive props, like will a player record a sack, over, under player tackles, stuff like that. So those are all player props that you can bet on. Now, there are also things called game props. So game props are similar to a total bet, where you're not betting on anything that has a direct outcome of the game, nor is it involved in a specific player. It's generally some sort of total. Now, a game prop could be first half winner, first half total, first half spread, first total points in the first half. Another version of a game prop could be team total, first half Raider total points, or you could do the total points for each team: Raiders total points, Chiefs totals points. Those are also an example of a game prop. Team total, first half bets are probably the most popular examples of a game prop, but there are a wide variety of options. There's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. As you can see here, there's a ton of different type of game props, and then also player props as well. You can also bet, I should have mentioned this earlier, you can bet on touchdowns. So will a player score a touchdown? Will the player score the first or last touchdown? Will they score 2+ or 3+ touchdowns? Will they score in the first half? Will they score in the second half? A bunch of different options for touchdown score bets as well, which is in the player prop category. Also a ton of different game props as well. Like we see here, drive results. How will the first drive of the game go? Will there be a punt, an offensive touchdown, a field goal attempt, or any other option? Tons of props you can bet on when it comes to the NFL, including the NFL playoffs. There's also, and this is probably the most important for the playoffs specifically, there are also future bets that you can make. And when you're betting on a future, you're not betting on a specific outcome of a game. You're betting on a future outcome. Like, will this team go to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl? You can bet that right here. Will this team win the Super Bowl? You can bet on, will this team win their conference? Will the Eagles win the NFC? Will the Chiefs win the AFC? Those are types of future bets you can make for the playoffs specifically. And that's pretty much it when it comes to betting on the NFL playoffs. So remember, there are 7 teams in each conference that make the playoffs in the AFC and the NFC. The top 4 are their winners of their division. When it comes to betting on the actual games themselves, The three main lines are the point spread, the total, and the money line. And then there are player props and game props. And then, of course, future bets as well. And then in terms of strategies, when it comes to betting on the playoffs, but that is going to be it in terms of NFL playoff betting. Hopefully this video made sense to you. Hopefully it was helpful. If you did like it, I would appreciate it if you could help me out and just click the like button on the video, comment, let me know your feedback, even if it's negative. Any comments help. And then of course, if you could subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel as well. But that is all I got for you guys. So hopefully you are ready to tackle some NFL playoff betting, and have a good one.